There is a strait in the Persian Gulf where two completely different worlds occupy the same 33 kilometers of water. One world moves 20 million barrels of oil through it every day and is watched by satellites and is described by every analyst on television in three-letter acronyms. The other world has been there for 600 million years, speaks a language nobody else understands, paints its women's faces with red soil, builds wooden ships from memory, and has never paid much attention to the first world at all. This documentary is about the second world, the one nobody is filming. On the northern shore at dawn, Bandar Abbas presses against the water like a hand on a switch. Iran's largest southern port. Container terminals in the haze, refineries warming up, fishing boats already gone. The first world is awake. Tankers in the harbor, radar arrays on the ridges, the same daily mathematics that has made this corridor the most watched stretch of sea on Earth. But south of the harbor, across 45 minutes of gray-green water, the second world is also awake, and it does not look anything like the first. The ferry takes 45 minutes. The horizon does not change. Then it does. A small island the size of Manhattan rises out of the water in colors the rest of the world stopped trusting 600 million years ago. Iron oxide red, sulfur yellow, salt white. Mineral terraces stacked like a layer cake somebody built before there was anyone to look at it. 6,000 people live here. They have never run out of things to call beautiful and have never run out of reasons to leave. 18 square miles, 70 distinct mineral shades, 600 million years old. Hormuz Island is what geologists call a salt diaper, a column of compressed salt and volcanic rock pressed up through the sea floor over geological time, breaking the surface like a wound that won't close. Walk south from the harbor and the ground starts to bleed. The waves arrive red. Not the dark red of dried blood, the bright red of something still living. The sand here is so saturated with iron oxide, locally called galak, that the moment a wave hits the shore, it dissolves the mineral into the water. The water itself is not red. The water is briefly carrying a color that belongs to the ground. Walk barefoot and your feet come back coated in pigment that takes days to wash off. The same red soil is mined by hand and ground into spice. It goes into a sauce called surak. It is baked into flatbread. The women of Hormuz use it to paint their faces. Children playing on this beach are eating, in the most literal sense, the ground beneath them. And the ground has more to show than red. Walk inland and the color multiplies. Burnt orange beside cobalt, sulfur yellow beside pale gray. Hills of dried mineral the color of melted candles. 70 distinct shades have been counted in this valley. Wind erosion exposes new layers every season. The slopes shift color by the hour as sunlight moves across the surface. Photographers call it the closest thing to Mars on Earth. Geologists call it a salt dome, breaching its overburden in real time. Both descriptions are correct. Past the color comes the shape. The wind has been carving these rocks for longer than there has been a word for them. Pillars and arches and twisted spires of soft stone, each one different from the last, each one rearranged by every storm that arrives. Locals point and name them. A dragon, a kneeling old man, an eagle ready to leap. The names change with the wind. The rocks do too. Fossils of ancient marine life are visible in the rock face above the valley. The whole island used to be the bottom of an ocean. Now the bottom of that ocean is a sculpture garden 25 meters above the sea that replaced it. And below all of it, the island is hollow. Beneath the colored hills, the island opens into something that does not match what is above it. A cave system of pure white salt. Walls crystallized into chandeliers. Stalactites sharp as blades. Salt rivers solidified mid-flow across the cave floor. The salt walls absorb sound completely. There is no echo here. The only sounds are the ones inside your own body. Locals call it the Salt Goddess Cave because they believe the air inside has healing energy. Scientists confirm it. The air contains unusually high concentrations of negative ions due to the salt crystallization. People with respiratory illness travel here just to breathe. Above ground, red rock, painted hills, valleys carved by wind. Below ground, white salt absorbing every sound. Above and below cancel nothing. They simply share the island. On the northern edge of the island, a fortress made of red coral stone has been standing for over 500 years. The Portuguese built it in 1507 to control the entire trade route between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean. Spices, silk, pearls, silver. Everything that moved between Europe and Asia for over a century moved through this corridor under the gaze of these walls. The architectural style is European military. The materials are local, Hormuz stone. The fort is dissolving back into the island it was carved from. The same red volcanic rock that made the soil edible has been making this fortress slowly indistinguishable from the ground beneath it. Inside the walls, an underground church with Gothic arches stays cool against the 45-degree summer heat. Bronze cannons rust in the courtyard, their barrels still pointed at the strait. The Portuguese designed enormous underground rainwater cisterns to survive month-long sieges. The cisterns are still there. They've been the only fresh water on an island where every drop counted. Whoever controls the threshold makes the rules. That was the Portuguese calculation. Five centuries of empires have passed through this water since. Persian, Dutch, British, American. Every one of them eventually leaving the way the Portuguese left. The fort outlasted all of them, the same way the island outlasts the people who live on it. And on the same island, in a place the Portuguese could not have imagined, the architecture has gone in the opposite direction entirely. Built using super adobe, sacks of local Hormuz dirt piled and shaped to handle heat and seismic activity, then finished by hand by the islanders themselves. The dirt that became the bread, the dirt that became the dye, the dirt that became the houses. Same source, different verb. No fences, no gates. The resort blends into the topography it was built from. From altitude, it looks less like a building and more like the island sprouted small, colored mushrooms after rain. Each dome was constructed without mechanical assistance. The locals who built it learned the technique on the job and kept the knowledge. From a fortress that arrived from outside the island to an architecture built from inside it, Hormuz does not import its solutions. It grows them out of its own ground. West of Hormuz, a much larger island stretches 130 kilometers along the Iranian coast. The largest island in the Persian Gulf. The first place in the Middle East, the United Nations designated a UNESCO Global Geopark. Qeshm is not a destination. It is an open-air museum of geology, so dense with formations that the entire island is the exhibit. 1,500 square kilometers, 148,000 people. A coastline of salt domes, slot canyons, mangrove tidal forests, and rock formations carved by wind into shapes the people who live here have been naming for 10,000 years. The first inhabitants arrived during the late Stone Age. They never left. The island has accepted everyone who has ever come and held on to everyone who has ever stayed. Begin in the center of the island, where the legend says the sky fell. a wide bowl of pale eroded rock filled with towers and pillars and twisted spires, each one a different height, each one a different shape, none of them placed there by a hand. The locals say a star fell here a long time ago, smashed into the island, threw earth in every direction. The pillars are what was left. Geologists say it is 2 million years of wind and rain working on soft, sedimentary rock. Standing inside the valley at dusk, with the wind whistling through the spires and the long shadows falling across the floor, the geologist's explanation feels like the less believable one. People avoid the valley after dark. The sound the wind makes through the rock cracks has been described by locals as voices. And a few kilometers south, the same wind has done something different to the same rock. The ground splits open. Vertical limestone walls 100 meters high, polished by sand and wind into smooth, wavy shapes that look poured rather than carved. In Persian, Cha means well, and Ku means mountain. Inside the canyon, locals dug wells deep into the floor centuries ago to catch the rare rainwater that flows down the cliffs. In an island with no rivers, those wells were the difference between staying and leaving. In the narrowest sections, the walls are wide enough for one person to pass through sideways. The cliffs reach 100 meters above. Sunlight enters in narrow vertical strips. The canyon is 2 perpendicular gorges intersecting at a right angle, a cross carved by water. Inside, the silence is total. The walls absorb sound the way the salt cave does. Two of the strangest acoustic environments on Earth, and both of them sit on the same archipelago. East of the canyon, the island ends in something green. The salt water of the Gulf meets the salt water of the tide and produces, somehow, a forest. Avicennia marina, a mangrove that drinks seawater, filters out the salt through specialized bark and excretes the rejected salt as crystals on its leaves. A tree that has solved a problem the rest of the plant kingdom never managed. Twice a day, the tide rises and submerges the trunks until only the canopy floats above the water. Twice a day it falls and reveals the tangled root system beneath the mud. "30 square miles of forest, a nursery for shrimp, fish, and sea turtles, a migratory stop for flamingos, herons, pelicans, and falcons." The locals call the tree har, derived from Avicenna, the Persian philosopher who lived 1,000 years before Linnaeus put the same name on the same tree without knowing why. And along the northern shore of Qeshm, in a village that has been there longer than the trees, the people built towers to catch the wind. stacked houses of coral stone pressed together along the waterfront. Above them rise dozens of slender vertical towers, mouths open toward the prevailing wind. Bajgirs, wind catchers. They funnel cool air down into the rooms below, dropping the indoor temperature by 15 to 20 degrees in a place where the outdoor air regularly exceeds 50. No electricity, no machinery. Some of these towers are over 1,000 years old. This is not primitive technology waiting to be improved. This is solved technology that has been correct for centuries. Behind the village, an underground water system of 366 wells, one for each day of a leap year, was designed so the villagers could draw fresh water from a different well every day, allowing the rest to recharge. About 100 wells remain. The principle has not changed. The women of Loft wear masks, embroidered cloth across the upper face, gold, cobalt, crimson. Originally protection from the desert's sun and salt wind, over generations the patterns came to encode marital status, region of birth, family lineage. A face that doubles as a sentence. Down on the shore, the men are building something the world tried to make obsolete 100 years ago and has never quite managed to. Wooden ribs rise from the sand, skeletons of cargo vessels under construction. The sound of saws and hammers carries down the beach. Lenge boats, traditional Persian Gulf wooden ships built entirely by hand without blueprints. The technique is held in the bodies of the craftsmen who build them, passed from father to son for over 1,000 years through demonstration and repetition rather than diagrams. The hulls are heavy teak imported from India and Burma, shaped by saw and hammer. Some ships exceed 30 meters. They can sail to East Africa and stay in the water for 100 years. UNESCO has designated the traditional skills of building and sailing Lenge boats as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The skill exists nowhere outside the bodies of a diminishing number of men working on this beach. And just south of Qeshm, in waters the world's tankers also use, something else is building its life on the same sea. A small island, the shape of a truncated cone, sitting just south of Qeshm in the same water the supertankers navigate. No paved roads, no hotels. Fewer than 700 permanent residents. And in the bay between Hengam and Qeshm, dolphins. Indo-Pacific bottlenose, humpback dolphins. Pods of dozens, sometimes hundreds, that arrive in the early mornings and stay until the sun gets high. They are not shy. The sound of a small boat's engine is enough to bring them to the surface. A short distance offshore, the water passes a fishing boat. A few kilometers further, it passes a tanker the length of 4 city blocks. The dolphins do not seem to care about the difference. No visa required to land here, no customs to clear. The first thing that catches you is not the heat. It is the silver-white sand that stays cool even in direct sun. Kish is an oval coral island 12 miles off the southern coast. Iran's first free trade zone, declared in 1992, now receiving 12 million visitors a year. People joke that you do not even need to lock your car. The beaches are pulverized coral. The water is clear enough that you can count fish from the shore. Beneath the island, 16 meters underground, runs a 2,500-year-old aqueduct system called the Kariz Kanat. The ceiling of the tunnel is fossilized coral reef. The same coral that became the beach above became the ceiling of the cave below. Researchers from Munich University dated the fossils to between 53 and 570 million years old. Walking through the Kanat is walking through pressed time. Above you, the ceiling is the floor of an extinct ocean. Above that ocean, eventually, was a city. The Kanat was designed to filter rainwater through layers of fossil coral and clay, purifying it through mineral contact alone before delivering it to the surface as drinking water. The principle is the same one modern desalination plants reproduce at enormous energy cost. The people who built this 2,500 years ago got there with stone and patience. On the western edge of the island, a Greek cargo ship called the Cooler F has been stuck in shallow water since 1966. Built in Scotland in 1943, ran aground on Kish's southwest reef on the 25th of July, 1966. Never moved. Its rusting 446-foot hull sits in turquoise water at sunset, looking, depending on the light, like the wreck of an empire or the foundation of a reef. The oldest infrastructure on the island and the most accidental landmark sit in the same square kilometer. Kish does not resolve the contradiction, it absorbs it. East of Kish, beyond the strait's narrowest point, the geography changes again. The water is the same, the land is not. The peninsula drives north into the strait like a stone wedge. Limestone cliffs fracture into deep, narrow inlets carved between peaks that drop vertically into the water. Fjords, real ones, carved by tectonic subsidence as the Arabian plate slides beneath the Erosion, dragging the landmass below sea level and flooding the valleys between the mountains. They are sometimes called the Norway of Arabia. The comparison is geological, not climatic. Norway is wet and green. Musandam is sun-scorched limestone above blue water. But the shape of the land is identical, and so is the silence. Inside the fjords, when a boat's engine cuts off, you can hear the water lapping the cliffs from a kilometer away. You can hear dolphins breathing. You can hear nothing else. At the base of the peninsula sits a town that has been doing one thing for 400 years. Khasab arranges itself along the harbor the way a town does when it has known what it is doing for a very long time. Traditional Omani dhows leave the port at dawn, wide wooden boats designed for the same shallow Gulf waters they have always known. The water changes color as the sun rises, dark, then deep blue, then green in the shallows by midday. The boats trail wakes that disappear before they reach the cliffs. Pickup trucks line the harbor every morning, unloading goods carried over from Iran by speedboat. Electronics, tea, tobacco, cosmetics. And loading goats and sheep going the other direction. A semi-official trade corridor between two countries that officially do not have one. The harbor pretends not to notice. Above the harbor, on the ridge, the same logic that built the Portuguese fort on Hormuz built another one on this side of the water. A circular tower in pale stone, surrounded by a square of thick walls, looking down on the harbor the way it has been looking down on the harbor for 400 years. Built by the Portuguese in 1623, captured by the Omanis in 1644, never abandoned since. The same fortress on the same ridge, still doing the same job. Inside the walls, an outdoor museum of traditional boats. A circular central tower packed with old jewelry and weapons. A Quran school. A kitchen from centuries ago. Strangest of all, the Beit al-Kuful, the House of Locks. Windowless stone houses built to keep dates and grain safe from thieves, while the owners migrated up into the mountains for the summer. Whoever controls the threshold makes the rules. Same calculation, different shore. And out in the fjords, on a small rock that almost no one would notice, an empire once lost its mind. A tiny, rocky outcrop tucked round the bend of one of the fjords. From a boat, you would miss it. In 1864, the British built a telegraph repeater station here to connect London to Karachi, and through Karachi to the rest of British India. It was a strategic miracle of communication, one of the great connective achievements of the empire. It was also a nightmare. No air conditioning, no internet, nothing to do. The isolation and the heat were so absolute that British officers stationed here reportedly began losing their minds. The English idiom, going round the bend, meaning going crazy, comes from this island. Round the bend of the fjord that hid them from the world. The station only lasted 5 years. By 1869, it was abandoned. All that is left now is a few crumbling stone walls on a rock that the dhow tours stop at on their way somewhere else. And above the fjords, on the highest peak in Musandam, the mountain itself remembers being underwater. The road climbs out of the fjords and keeps climbing. The air gets cooler. The vegetation thins. By the time the road reaches the summit, the temperature has dropped 20 degrees from the coast, and the wind is cold even in summer. Jebel Harim, the mountain of women. 2,870 meters above sea level, the highest peak in Musandam, named for the local women who climbed here to escape Portuguese raids and pirate attacks while the men were out at sea. The peak was their fortress. Look at the rock at the summit and you will find fossils. Not metaphorical fossils, actual marine fossils. Fish, coral, shells, pressed into the stone at 2,870 meters above sea level. This entire mountain used to be the bottom of an ancient ocean. Tectonic plates pushed it up into the sky over millions of years. The ocean is still in the rock. From the summit, on a clear day, you can see the strait below. You can see the Iranian coast on the other side. You can see the same supertankers passing through the same shipping lanes that everything in this video has been about and around and underneath. And below the mountain, in a village reachable only by boat, 650 people speak a language called Kumzadi that exists nowhere else on Earth. Fragments of Persian, Arabic, Portuguese, Hindi, Dutch, words left behind by every sailor who ever passed this strait. The village is a fossil too, a fossil of every empire that ever decided this water was worth controlling. The empires left. The vocabulary stayed. The mountain remembers being a sea. The village remembers every fleet that ever sailed past it. Both of them are still here. Both of them are still listening. The drone climbs until the strait is just a sliver of blue between two land masses, a gap you could overlook on a world map, that most people did overlook, until the news cameras pointed at it. But the news cameras only ever pointed at the first world, the tankers, the choke point, the numbers on a screen. The second world is still here. The red island still bleeding into the sea. The salt cave still dissolving in the dark. The Lenge boats still being shaped by hand on a beach that has not changed. The women of Loft still wearing masks their mothers wore. The mountain still holding fossils of a vanished ocean. The village at the edge of the fjord still speaking a language with no relatives left alive. The narrowest gate, the oldest answer, still here, still waiting to be looked at.